Once upon a time, in ancient Greece, there lived a powerful and courageous man named Hercules. Hercules was known throughout the land for his incredible strength, but also for his quick temper and impulsive nature. One day, Hercules was approached by King Eurystheus, who had heard of Hercules' prowess. The king told Hercules that he had a task for him, one that would require all of his strength and courage. King Eurystheus presented Hercules with 12 labors, which were meant to be completed in a set order. The first labor was to slay the Nemean lion, a fierce and powerful beast that was terrorizing the countryside. Hercules set out to face the Nemean lion, determined to complete the first of his 12 labors. As he approached the beast's lair, he could hear its roar echoing through the trees. Hercules was not afraid, for he was confident in his strength and skill. When he reached the lair, Hercules found the Nemean lion lying in wait. The lion was massive, with thick golden fur and piercing eyes. Hercules drew his sword, ready for battle. The lion charged at Hercules, its powerful jaws open wide. Hercules dodged its attack, and with a quick motion, plunged his sword into the lion's side. But to his surprise, the sword shattered upon impact. The lion was not only fierce, but also nearly invulnerable. Hercules realized that he would need to use his wit and strength to defeat the lion. He grappled with the beast, using his immense strength to overpower it. He finally managed to strangle the lion, defeating it in battle. With the first of his 12 labors complete, Hercules returned to King Eurystheus, bearing the Nemean lion's skin as proof of his victory. King Eurystheus was impressed with Hercules' bravery and strength, and he was eager to see what Hercules would accomplish with his next labor. As Hercules rested that night, he closed his eyes and let his mind drift, thinking of the 11 labors that lay ahead of him. But before long, he was sound asleep, exhausted from his battle with the Nemean lion. And so ends the first chapter of the story of Hercules and his 12 labors. The next morning, Hercules rose early, ready to tackle his next challenge. King Eurystheus presented him with the second labor: to capture the Erymanthian Boar alive. The Erymanthian Boar was known for its ferociousness and for causing destruction wherever it went. Hercules set out towards the nearby mountains, where the boar was said to live. As he climbed the rugged terrain, Hercules thought about his strategy. He was determined to capture the boar alive, but he knew that it would not be easy. Finally, Hercules reached the boar's lair and saw the beast for the first time. It was a formidable sight, with tusks as long as Hercules was tall, and a bristly coat that seemed to radiate anger. Hercules approached the boar cautiously, trying to avoid spooking it. As he got closer, the boar charged at him with lightning speed. Hercules sprang into action, using his incredible agility to dodge its attack. He chased the boar through the mountains, leaping over streams and dodging trees. The boar was fast, but Hercules was faster. Finally, Hercules managed to corner the boar, and with a quick movement, he managed to capture it alive. With the Erymanthian Boar in hand, Hercules returned to King Eurystheus, who was once again impressed by Hercules' bravery and skill. The king congratulated him on his victory and presented him with his next challenge. As the day drew to a close, Hercules retired to his camp, exhausted but satisfied. He was proud of what he had accomplished and eager to tackle his next labor. He drifted off to sleep, dreaming of the adventures and challenges that lay ahead. And so ends the second chapter of the story of Hercules and his 12 labors. The next day, Hercules set out on his third labor, to bring back the Serenian hind, a golden-horned deer that was sacred to the goddess Artemis. Hercules set out into the forest, determined to find the hind. He searched for days, following its tracks and hunting for signs of its presence. Finally, Hercules caught sight of the Serenian hind. It was a beautiful creature, with shining golden horns and a gracefulness that seemed otherworldly. Hercules chased the hind through the forest, but it was faster than anything he had ever seen. He chased it for miles, never quite able to get close enough to capture it. Just as Hercules was starting to lose hope, he remembered the advice that his mentor, the centaur Chiron, had given him, to use his wit as well as his strength. Hercules stopped and thought for a moment, then devised a plan. He fashioned a pair of arrows from the branches of a tree, and with a quick shot, he managed to wound the hind. The hind slowed down, and Hercules was able to catch up with it. He captured the Serenian hind, and with it in hand, he returned to King Eurystheus. The king was once again impressed with Hercules' bravery and skill, and he presented him with his next challenge. That night, as Hercules lay in his tent, he thought about all that he had accomplished. He was proud of himself and eager for the next day, when he would embark on his next labor. And so ends the third chapter of the story of Hercules and his 12 labors. The next day, Hercules set out on his fourth labor, to clean the Augean stables, which housed King Augeas' vast herd of cattle. The stables had not been cleaned in years, and the accumulated manure was knee-deep. Hercules knew that the task would be grueling, but he was determined to complete it. He approached King Augeas and told him of his mission. The king was skeptical at first, but he agreed to let Hercules attempt the task. Hercules set to work immediately, shoveling manure and clearing out the stables. The task was dirty and exhausting, and Hercules began to question if he would ever be able to finish. But he refused to give up, and he worked tirelessly for days. Finally, the stables were clean, and Hercules emerged covered in sweat and dirt, but with a sense of pride. King Augeas was impressed with Hercules' work, and he agreed to pay him for his services. Hercules, however, declined the offer, saying that the satisfaction of a job well done was reward enough. Hercules returned to King Eurystheus, who was once again amazed at his bravery and determination. The king presented him with his next challenge, and Hercules set out, eager for his next adventure. And so ends the 4th chapter of the story of Hercules and his 12 labors. May your dreams be filled with bravery and perseverance. The next day, Hercules set out on his 5th labor to capture the Stymphalian birds, which terrorized the countryside with their sharp beaks and claws. Hercules journeyed to the marshes of Stymphalus, where the birds made their home. When he arrived, he was greeted by a cacophony of screeching and flapping as the birds flew overhead in a dense flock. Hercules knew that capturing the birds would be a difficult task, and he set out to devise a plan. He remembered that he had a set of magical noise-making bronze clappers given to him by Athena, and he decided to use them to scare the birds out of the marshes. Hercules approached the marshes, clapping his bronze clappers as loudly as he could. The sound echoed across the swamp, and the birds were startled, taking to the air in a frightened flock. Hercules took aim with his bow and arrows and began shooting down the birds. The birds were fast and agile, but Hercules was a skilled hunter, and he was able to bring down several of them. The remainder of the birds scattered, and Hercules decided to pursue them. He chased them through the swamp, dodging trees and leaping over streams, until he had captured all of the Stymphalian birds. With his mission accomplished, Hercules returned to King Eurystheus, who was once again impressed with his bravery and determination. The king presented him with his next challenge, and Hercules set out, eager for his next adventure. As Hercules journeyed home, he reflected on his accomplishments so far. He had faced many challenges, but he had overcome them all with his strength, his wit, and his determination. And so ends the 5th chapter of the story of Hercules and his 12 labors. May your dreams be filled with bravery and adventure. The next day, Hercules set out on his sixth labor to drive the Serenity hind, a beautiful and swift deer, back to King Eurystheus. Hercules journeyed to the forests of Serenia, where the hind was known to reside. When he arrived, he searched high and low for the deer, but she was nowhere to be found. Days passed, and Hercules was no closer to capturing the hind. He grew discouraged and was about to give up when he heard a rustling in the bushes. He turned to see the hind with her golden horns and shining hooves darting away through the trees. Hercules took off in pursuit, determined to catch the hind and complete his labor. The hind was swift, but Hercules was stronger and faster, and he gradually gained on her. The chase lasted for days as Hercules pursued the hind through the forests and across the hills. The hind was clever and elusive, but Hercules was relentless, and he finally caught up to her near a crystal-clear lake. Hercules was about to capture the hind when she spoke, her voice as soft and melodic as a songbird. "Please, Hercules," she said, "do not harm me. I am not a mere deer, but a nymph, cursed by Artemis to take on this form." Hercules was taken aback. He had never heard of a talking deer before, let alone a nymph. He asked the hind why she was cursed, and she told him that she had been punished for breaking one of Artemis' sacred laws. Hercules was torn. He had been tasked with capturing the hind, but he did not want to harm a nymph. He asked the hind if there was any way to break her curse, and she told him that only Artemis herself could lift the curse. Hercules decided to journey to the temple of Artemis to ask the goddess to lift the hind's curse. He set out, the hind following behind him, and he soon arrived at the temple. Artemis was pleased to see Hercules, and she listened as he told her of the hind's plight. She agreed to lift the curse, and the hind was restored to her true form as a beautiful nymph. Hercules returned to King Eurystheus with the hind, and the king was once again impressed with his bravery and determination. As Hercules journeyed home, he reflected on the journey that had brought him to this point. He had faced many challenges, but he had overcome them all with his strength, his wit, and his determination. And so ends the 6th chapter of the story of Hercules and his 12 labors. May your dreams be filled with courage and kindness.